Hi there, my name is Julie and I'm a recovering perfectionist, and the whole process of restarting my YouTube channel is forcing me to deal with that pretty head on, whether it's the fact that I thought I could record a casual intro video just really easily and that hasn't been happening for a variety of reasons, or the fact that I've had to revisit some of the content that I made some years ago and really take that trip down memory lane, and of course a lane filled with much less good equipment and sound and video quality, and wow. So this has been a process, and I am excited that you're joining me on this ride, and I'm hoping that this will be a valuable experience for all of us in a variety of ways. And I really just wanted to do a little kind of hey, hi space for us here to start off with, so that you can get to know a little bit more of the person behind the tutorials. And of course, I'm planning to do a little bit of a different mix of content as I'm moving forward with this project. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited to get to know each other. I last was on YouTube 6 years ago. 6 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. Adult life seems to just flow, the years just go, and it's all a lot more time than you're thinking it is. And I had posted a couple of videos in 2016. The previous ones before that were in 2014. And wow, I was in a really different place at that point. Thankfully, I've made it through, but there were some really good reasons that I was not maintaining my channel during that time. I was not in a physical, emotional, energetic space to be doing so, and I will cover a little bit about that adventure in a moment. I wanted to just speak to what it was like, though, to view some of my videos from before. So last night, as I was sprucing things up, I of course know I posted before. I know what I made. It was me, I remember. But there are things you don't remember, and it is super weird to take a look at yourself from literally that time. It's one thing to remember it, and it's a whole nother thing to re-experience it. And I got to see, of course, me from a period in my life where I was really trying to show up and still dealing with a lot of self-confidence issues. And of course, that's something that I'm still actively grappling with, but I'm in a way better place with it now. I don't think if that's something that you have that it ever goes away. And I think it's just always a matter of talking yourself through it. And I, of course, winced when I watched the videos from a perspective of the technical quality of them. As someone that likes to produce really good work, no matter what I'm doing, I did not like the sound quality. I did not like the video quality. I felt like I was doing pretty well for what I had at the time. I mean, it was a $300 little cheap video camera that wasn't too complicated to operate, and that was what I needed at the time. Now I am dealing with a much more fancy camera, but it is also presenting its set of technical challenges, like between remembering to turn on the microphone to making sure that it's focused properly. That was one of the problems with some of the attempts to make this, and just learning all the bells and whistles and buttons that it has. There are just a lot more things to take in, which at the time I didn't have the expertise or skills to handle. And, once I got past that, and then also seeing myself as a more, I would say, almost apologetic version of myself, I really feel like I was really trying to take up space, but I was sort of timid about it still. I was a lot more hesitant to speak out about things, or I really felt like, who am I to be telling people what to do? And yet I did it anyway. I still wanted to show up and I still wanted to share something. And that was what actually brought me back to feeling better about what I was seeing as I revisited those older videos. I feel really good about the fact that despite the fact that it was not perfect, I still showed up. And that is still a process that I am in today. This is by no means perfect, but I'm here and I am here to connect. And I'm really interested in forming genuine connections. I always have been through my life. I am just constantly revisiting how to do that. And today's world is different than the world of 6 years ago or 8 years ago. And heck, it's even different than the world of 2 years ago. So I am refocusing on my YouTube channel. That's one of my big projects for this coming year, is to put a lot more time and attention in over here. I really believe in the power of video for creating a sense of community. And that's something that's been really lacking in the world. And I'm hoping that these conversations, this time, can help foster a sense of community and there being something that's not just noise. So next, let's talk about why I was gone for 6 years, because I feel like that's relevant. I had a real rough period. I mean, granted, there's been a lot of rough stuff. At the time I was recording before, things were certainly not all like neat and tidy in my life, and I was not established in any kind of way. I was still rehabbing a house and parenting a child through a divorce and all the fun things that come with that, and my income wasn't where I needed it to be, and there was just a constant grind of like getting up and working hard every day. But I had no idea how much harder things would get. So the process that I went through involved 2 custody cases started by me and waged for the benefit of my child, who is now doing fine as a result of that effort. So it was all worth it. I renovated a commercial building and then bought it. So that was a big deal. I spent 5 months of time on construction. I started a store. I closed a store. That all happened between 2015 and 2020. And I also came down with mold poisoning. So the mold poisoning was really the serious whammy that took me out for a while. And it was the result of a lot of the other stressful things that happened to me. The amount of stress that I was under was definitely toxic. And I have a pretty high tolerance and pretty high capability of getting through difficult situations, but my body got way overwhelmed. And so the ironic thing is that I am a wellness entrepreneur and my job was part of what made me unwell. So my body just basically stopped processing mold spores properly, and so they build up in my system and cause me poisoning in situations where other people are perfectly fine. It's not just a matter of overexposure. It is, I am not okay in situations now where other people are fine. So that was a really interesting journey. And for a lot of years, I really didn't know what was wrong with me. It was very frustrating, and I felt like I aged about several decades. Like I felt like I went from being 36 to being 70 or 80. All of a sudden, I couldn't take the dog for a 30-minute walk because it would make me ill for a whole day afterward. And I couldn't do a lot of the things that normally I would consider a part of my routine to keep me healthy. Like I couldn't do yoga for several years there. I'm just now getting back to a point where I can do physical exercise somewhat routinely without making myself sick. And that's awesome. I love that I've made that much progress. And if anybody's interested, I would be happy to talk about the mycotoxicity stuff in another video more in depth, but I'm going to keep this moving. So that was total about 4 years of time that I got very sick and was in the depths of being very sick, and then finally figured out what was wrong with me. And once I could name my demon, I could actually do something about it and started working on getting well. But as anybody that has had a chronic health problem knows, getting well is not something that just happens in 2 weeks. Usually, this is not getting over a cold. This is a long-term process that takes consistent dedication. And so I have been in deep self-care mode over this last few years of recovery, and that meant really reducing the things that I had going on, which is part of why we in the end decided to close the Blasoma store, because just running our manufacturing operations for our natural skincare brand was plenty. And I'm really liking how much more flexibility it gives me and the employees. I really need that reduced schedule and less pressure. It's helping me continue to make progress with my body. And being able to make some of those decisions is part of the privilege of entrepreneurship, and I try to take the lessons that I learn and then apply them outward. So that whole process was lengthy, took a lot of my time and energy, and I am excited to be back and having more energy to be able to do things like this. My goal is to do some topical videos and maybe even just share some stuff about my life in general as I move forward, because I don't know, maybe you guys will find it interesting. We'll see. And depending on the response I get, that'll determine more of what I decide to do. So this is a change of direction for me and a search for something genuine in a world that often prioritizes something fake. So hopefully those of you that find that interesting and that resonates with you, you will enjoy this space. And if you learn something from me, fantastic. I might learn something from you as well. So I welcome your comments, and let's make it a conversation. I'm very open to learning from the people that I interact with. So hello, and I'm back. So just because it's fun, let's go over a few get to know you kind of little details about me, because I don't think I've ever done anything like that. I don't want to go on for too long tonight, but I feel like a few little details will be fun for you guys to know, and maybe we'll spark some more conversation. Let's start with the easy stuff. If you were to ask me if I like coffee or tea, I would say both, please. And I drink matcha, like usually a matcha latte in the mornings, and I will have that hot in the winter and iced in the summertime. And I find that does my body way better than coffee in the mornings generally. And then I will drink herbal tea all day. Sometimes it's a dandelion root tea, sometimes it's something kind of more fruity, sometimes it's a ribose-based chai that doesn't have any caffeine. And then in the evenings, I will go for coffee. So I'm an unusual person in that regard, in that I drink coffee at night. And then when I was a kid, my favorite food, I would have told you, were olives and pickles. All of the other kids would say pizza. But you know me, I have to be different. And so that was true. Olives and pickles were really my favorites. I just love them. And to this day, I can still eat my way through a jar of tapenade like nobody's business. I can put that stuff away. And I am so glad there is someone out there making tapenade for us, instead of, like, when I think about the amount of time it would take to actually make it from scratch, like if you're starting with an olive that's not pitted and you physically have to like cut it off the pit yourself. Oh my tapenade desires go far beyond what I could make for myself that way. So I am so grateful that we live in a modern society where I can just go to the store and get jars of tapenade and enjoy them to my heart's content. In terms of plants and things that are not plants, I love ashwagandha. That plant is my favorite as far as supplements go. Love that stuff. My life would not be the same without it. I have joked that it's really in charge here. I'm ashwagandha here to talk to you because I just wouldn't be the same without it. So definitely by far my favorite herb in terms of what it has done for my daily life. Like, there are some supplements that you take and you may not like overtly notice a difference, I absolutely notice a huge difference in my stamina, just my general sense of well-being. It's just like the perfect herb for me. So thank goodness for ashwagandha. And then I'm also a budding mushroom enthusiast. Of course, I have always used medicinal mushrooms in my supplements, my supplement habits, and then also in my products. So we have several products in the Blissoma line that do use like maitake and reishi mushrooms. So I've known for a long time about how fabulous mushrooms are, but I am just recently getting into mushroom foraging, and I've always stayed clear of that, largely because I was definitely scared that I would pick the wrong thing and end up killing myself. So I took a little course and I've gotten some books, and I'm hoping to do some more foraging. I did some really nice hikes in Vermont this fall where there were just beautiful, abundant mushrooms, and I stopped and took pictures of all of them, much to the irritation of my boyfriend, who I don't think anticipated that I would be spending so much time on the side of the trail, scrunched down, taking photographs of mushrooms. But that is what I enjoy doing. Like, I am out there to take pictures of cool things and get to remember them, because of course I wasn't ready to try eating any of them just yet. So that is one of my new little hopes, is that in the new year I will hopefully go foraging. I did see a lion's mane on a fall hike. It was a very tiny one, so not pickable. But I was excited to spot it on a hike this fall, and definitely hoping to do more and be able to identify more. So if you are a mushroom enthusiast, yay, let's talk. Other fun stuff. I usually have trouble picking favorites, but this one stands out to me. My favorite author is Ursula K. Le Guin. I am kind of a fantasy nerd, and I love her sci-fi stories. They're just really well thought out, and I am definitely on a kick where I am really only reading fantasy or sci-fi by women authors or people of color, Black authors. Octavia Butler is also pretty amazing if you're looking for something to read. I'm just really tired of the voices that have dominated that space for quite some time, and I'm really loving it. I'm finding it so nourishing to see the characters that women authors have portrayed, and people that are not part of the dominant patriarchal voice that has been in charge for so long. So that is one of my reading fun things. I am definitely an environmentalist, and a lot of my choices reflect that. I'm always trying to live a life that has meaning and purpose, and where the actions that I take align with my ethics. It's of course hard. There's a lot of like middle ground and gray area, and very difficult to accomplish it all. But I'm proud to say that most of the furniture in my home is either reclaimed, refurnished. I have personally refinished a lot of the furniture that's in here. I wear a lot of secondhand clothes. I am a nut for natural fibers. I love organic cotton, hemp, silk, things like that. I am definitely loving the sweaters that I picked up this fall. Unfortunately, it hasn't been that cold in St. Louis, so I haven't gotten to wear very many of them, but it was cold today, so yay, sweaters. So yeah, I just love the natural world, and I love bringing it into all aspects of my life, whether that be the food that I'm eating, the pieces of furniture that I use and that I'm surrounded by, or the clothing that I'm wearing, and the smells that I put in the air around me. Aromatherapy is definitely something that I get a kick out of, and I just love knowing that what I'm using came from the earth. If you've ever read any of my interviews that I've done, or listened to any of the podcasts where I've been interviewed, a lot of times I've mentioned that my first and most lengthy health issue has been my migraines. And it also is what sent me down the course of holistic wellness and health and herbalism and aromatherapy and all the cool things that I do today, which in a way I'm really grateful for. I am not a believer that like everything, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger necessarily, because there are definitely things that just kill you. But I was lucky enough that these things did act as teachers to me, And I was able to make the best of it, and I was able to come through and find solutions. And thank goodness for all the amazing options that are out there these days, the Eastern focused options like acupuncture, and the fact that we're all able to share information so readily. All of that helped move me more towards having a more robust, pain-free life. Chronic illness will really take you on a journey that you could not have predicted. And initially it contracts your world, and then gradually you re-expand from there. And I'm at this beautiful point of expansion with my issues, where largely I'm doing very well. And that, I think, is a really hopeful thing. And also, I think it's important to know that the things that I have learned have come about through the mess that I've been in. I am sometimes a mess. I'm sometimes a big mess. And I've made the mistakes, and I have also had things just happen to me that were unfair or challenging. And I've had to work through those things. And that's how I know some of the things that I know. And it comes from a real place of experience. I share things that have benefited me, and I'm hoping that what I do share and what I do teach will help somebody else through moments like what I had. And if it does, if it helps a single person, then it's worth the time invested, because I certainly would not be in as good of a place as I am without all the help that's been offered to me along the way in terms of knowledge and exploration and self-reflection and everything. And I want to make sure that other people have those tools as well. So that is a big part of the reason that I do the work that I do. I believe strongly in sharing information and uplifting others. So that is what I'm focused on here. Please chat back with me. If you have questions, send them along. I will try to address them. And hopefully we can create some really good healing space here. So thank you for being a part of my little community on YouTube and beyond, if so. And I hope that you find what you need on your journey, as I've found what I need on mine.